people are confused what intelligence means. So it's not like, again, summarization or finding certain things. It is just an automation. It's not intelligent. We have to do in this market because that's what the legacy players did it in the past. They teach people why you should record these meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we should teach people what is intelligence and what you can do with that. The real time is a very interesting part of this equation. The reason is, I think, let's say all the self autonomous robots or driving cars, whatever. So it has to be a real time component.
Yeah.
If you want to build like an intelligent machine there, automation is like just a fundamental block. But these real time capabilities are super important. And the biggest piece here is the behavior change. We are dealing with, human to human, let's say. And this behavior change only happens in real time. There is no other option.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ignite podcast. Today we're joined by a true innovator in AI and sales enablement, Dr. Burak Aksar. As the founder of Spiky AI, a Techstars-backed company, Burak has been at the forefront of scaling winning behaviors across revenue teams with cutting-edge real-time customer insights. With a PhD in computer engineering from Boston University, an impressive history at IBM AI Research, Burak has not only developed practical AI tools, but also approaches sales with data-driven strategic mindsets. We're thrilled to dive into his journey, his unique strategies, and what's coming next in the AI-driven sales landscape. Burak, welcome.
Hey, Brian. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. Now, walk us through your upbringing, your background. How'd you get into AI and getting a PhD in computer engineering at BU?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a quick rundown here. So when I moved to Boston, I'm originally from Turkey, so I moved to Boston 7 years back for my PhD studies. And throughout my PhD, I had a chance to develop cutting edge AI solutions, and it was like the era before ChatGPT become very popular. So AI wasn't that cool at that time. So when we first started. But I mainly worked in like explainable AI and developing, end-to-end AI models, AI frameworks to understand people, monitoring and taking action in high performance computing systems like supercomputers. They're super powerful, super large. How do we optimize their performance using AI frameworks? And then I worked at San Diego National Labs as well as like IBM AI Research right here in Boston. So I've been in the academia and also like as well as in the business for a while. So that's basically the quick background and how I basically got into academia first and ended up in Spiky, empowering right now a lot of revenue teams across the world.
Amazing. Do you still think, as an immigrant to the U.S., what was that like? What was that decision like? That's always like, what an incredible thing, right? To leave your home country and go, you know what, I'm going all in on the U.S. and going to go there and educate myself and eventually start a business. I mean, how amazing is that?
It's a crazy decision for sure. I don't think, a lot of people love that idea because first of all, you leave everything. Like you basically get out of your comfort zone immediately, right? When I first moved here, I literally know like no one, like even finding a house, even like creating like your social circle from scratch. It's going to sound super simple, but I think it's super hard, right? Because you're kind of no one in this new country. You don't know anyone, and PhD is already like a very challenging mental process. So you have to do a lot of things. So I think biggest value that I was always like trying to, tell myself, hey, like you learn how to survive by yourself under whatever circumstances would happen ever. So you are in the survival mode, and it's basically like a great mindset also for like founders, like the resilience mindset. I think I knew like it's gonna be tough, but I wanted to challenge myself, and that's why I wanted to come here. And US was the center of the innovation and entrepreneurship, and I think everything well aligned, I would say.
Maybe you could walk us through your journey from academia and research to the actual founding of Spiky AI.
Yeah, sure. So I used to teach during, especially in the COVID period. So I was like teaching software engineering classes, everyone was in this like Zoom discussion environment. And it was like the online communication at that time or online education was literally nothing. I'm talking about a period where Zoom stocks were like almost like zero. There was no value in it at that time. So the interesting part is while I was teaching, people were joining calls and I was trying to, tell the story. Hey, okay, this is what we're gonna do. It was like zero effective because I didn't have any idea about what's happening in the class. Even for the classes that I was joining, zero idea. Like no one is speaking, no one is asking questions. I'm not even sure like I'm talking to the right people. So there was like no effective way to improve myself and make sure I'm creating value for those people. So this online communication or online meeting field, like I realized that I think it's gonna be broken for sure. But how do we basically make things, how do I solve this problem from an engineering perspective? So that was basically the problem I was like really passionate. And it actually ties back to the main reason I moved to US, basically getting or expressing my own potential in a better way, right? So I wanted to help people to be best version of themselves, but I also wanted to empower myself. So how do I do this basically in this online setting? That was basically the burning question when we first started things.
Yeah. And so the problem you're trying to solve is do this scaling winning behaviors across revenue teams. Like, but how did that problem evolve like over time?
So actually for the past like 1 or 2 years or so, when we first put up like a launch page, we realized the demand from institutions or corporations were higher compared to the educational setting, I would say. And we started talking to these people, right? Especially first their HR and training specialists wanted to use Spiky because they were literally having the same problem that I was just describing you in the, class setting. They were like having these fancy, expensive education settings or sessions, but they didn't have any idea about like measuring the quality and making them better. Everyone was giving like a, survey result, like how was the session? 3 out of 5. What am I going to do with this? Literally nothing. Right. So then like we jump into more revenue space. It was very organic because revenue people who are like talking to customers daily, they're very, very focused on improving their communication. That's their KPI. If you want to be a better seller or if you want to like serve your customers better, communication is the key thing. You got to do much better.
Yeah.
So that's why like how KPIs align. We so far, I think, talked to around like 400 people in the revenue space, and 70 to 75% of these people are basically leaders. Everyone was like, hey, everything is online. Great. A lot of meetings. What do I take actionable out of this? How do I coach my people? How do I educate them? How do I basically figure out the winning behaviors or the best behaviors that ends up with successful results? And how do I scale this? That's basically why we keep calling scaling winning behaviors.
Yeah. So what you're describing here is, kind of the gong chorus problem that I've heard over and over again, which is like, okay, yeah, I got everything recorded. It gave me some kind of lightweight insights, but I really don't know how to effectively take action on coaching and scaling my revenue, like my sales team on all these recordings.
So right now, every team is doing like at least 3 times more meetings every week on average. So right now the quantity is like exponentially more, right? So right now, if you have like 5 sales reps, as a manager, every week you have at least 100 recordings that you're supposed to review or coach, but no one does that. Like, and we found that like crazy statistic saying the actual report review ratio is around 2%, which is crazy. The reason is everyone is recording, like you said, but like they don't even read the summary. Like summarization or note taking was never the problem. And that's why it didn't solve the problem for people. Right now, everyone is coming to the meeting with another note taking app and saying, oh, okay, I'll send you a follow-up email. I'll send you action items. So it's not the problem. It's still not the problem. All those first generation tools, like you mentioned, they started the domain, they started the recording mindset, which was great. But the problem is still like, how do I make something actionable out of this?
Yeah.
Summary is not actionable. It is not. It doesn't lead the behavior change. So those are very critical, discussion points right now in the sales space.
Yeah, I love that. You actually talked to 400 sales leaders?
Yeah. I think for the last 16 months-ish. So that's like what we're doing every day.
Yeah.
It is intense. Seriously.
And so what's the how of this? What are the critical behaviors that you've kind of identified in all this analysis using AI for high performing sales teams? Or does it differ from company to company or size of company or how they're selling or yeah?
Absolutely. Like I think the future here is personalization. Because everyone has a different sales cycle. First of all, every company is like selling a different product. Even though there are competitors, everyone has like different differentiators. Hopefully they have, right? So that's the whole point of sales. but the personalization angle is super crucial. So I'll drop one like very interesting insight. So we were doing like a small proof of concept, one of our like current customers, but before we convert them into a customer. So the revenue leader goes by, we have all these like recording tools. Like, how are you going to prove me that you guys are different? I offered them like, hey, we're going to do a session, like a trial period, like a month. I just want like 10 people, 5 people going to use Spiky, 5 people going to use whatever tool right now you're using.
Oh, I love that.
So let's A/B test and then we onboarded them. I told them, hey, like, what are your biggest problems right now? We did it like a little bit deep dive there. He was like talking about objections a lot of the times. I say, sure. So we first told the leader, hey, these are all common objections. The privacy was the top one, by the way. Like customers mainly coming up, hey, everything is going smooth in the meeting. That's what their sales reps told them, by the way. Like, he didn't make any observation there, but they were saying, oh, all good, but they come up with privacy questions, and we verified that by data. And then I told them, all right, okay, so this is the privacy objection. So we're going to try this answering in different ways and then see the impact of it. So then, interestingly, we found out that the best account executives who handle the privacy question versus let's say other account executives who are not as successful as those best people. So he told me like these people are really good. And like he also told me like a couple of them are like kind of in the, let's say, medium range. He's looking to coach them. So that's why you have to scale the winning behaviors. So when we look into the behavior of the best sales reps in their company, so when a customer asks them a question, hey, everything is all good. Can you tell me more about how you guys store the data or the privacy? And the reps goes by the following. Very simple. Like, hey, we are SOC 2 compliant. We have ISO certification. And if you need extra information, I'm happy to share it. And then they just stop.
Doesn't sound like a winning behavior if you're into sales.
Yeah. So then they stop, by the way. So it's very interesting. And I was like, they're not giving a lot of information. Why is that? And then the other people who basically kind of lost the deal, or when the deal cycle is increased, we found that they are saying the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are saying, oh, we have SOC 2 because, enablement team make them memorize the thing, but they are not checking whether they are doing the correct thing or not. So what happens there is they say the exact same phrase, literally exact same thing. Then they say, okay, we have SOC 2, we have ISO, and then they stop for a while, and then they start talking again. They say, if you need, I can also talk to your IT people. I can bring our solution engineer. I can do this. Like, just giving a lot of information that reduces confidence, probably.
Yeah, it's kind of like the car salesman problem, where you just kind of keep talking about the car and you don't stop. I grew up in sales and I sold all kinds of stuff. I sold cars. I sold a bunch of stuff in college to pay for college. One of the frameworks I remember hearing is when somebody gives you a concern, objection, anything like this, you hear it, you cushion it so you understand it, and you confirm that you understand it with them, and then you handle it, and then you confirm.
Yes.
HC is how I remember it. It's hear, cushion, handle, confirm. So that was like something that was embedded in me in sales training. Is anytime anybody says anything, you're like, oh, I hear that you're concerned about security. And rightfully so. You guys are an enterprise and you handle people's data, and that's a big concern for you. I want to confirm with you that we are SOC 2, blah, blah, blah. Does that address your need? Is there anything else? Right? So that's the confirm part.
Absolutely.
Is that something you guys kind of, you're basically in your platform using AI with these recordings, basically teaching these winning behaviors for salespeople and making them get better?
Absolutely, because that teaching, or I would say the behavior change, happens on the real time. So the funny part of this equation is, let's say you did let's say mediocre salesperson, like keep talking about all these like extra information, and then the customer kind of get confused. And the customer thinks that they have to include like IT to the process, which will take like, maybe extra 3 more months. And they don't realize it because that's a very specific period. As a human being, you can't review hundreds of basically behaviors like this, but we can. And then we can also enforce saying, maybe I'm like giving a lot of extra information, and Spiky starts warning me in real time, like when I'm in the meeting, hey Burak, like you gotta like stop here, wait a bit, wait until hear what they're gonna say to you. Just wait, because that's what best people in your team is doing really successfully, because sometimes silence is so tough. But when you look this from like an average perspective, let's say Gong, Chorus, they'll give you, oh, this is your talk time, this is your listen time. Average doesn't matter. It matters based on the context. That's why it's super important to go deep there and also make sure it correlates with the winning behavior. Maybe in certain deals, you got to mention IT. You never know that. And in company to company, it's very, very different. If you're talking to a technical person and if you start like telling a lot of salesy and marketing language, like they don't like it.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that. And AI's job is basically helping you with that because you can't extract all these, but we can. And then we help you scale it.
Amazing. And so you're basically becoming this AI powered sales enablement coach for revenue leaders to figure out for their particular business, for their sales cycle, for the companies that you're talking to, what are the winning behaviors in these calls.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And you've shared some tips on using small talk, which is interesting. What's the science or data showing us on engaging in small talk? You know, you have this like 30-minute demo or 60-minute demo. How much small talk should sales guys do and gal?
For like a 30-minute meetings, when we look into the statistics there, so it was like generally less than 10%, I would say. So like limit up to 2 to 3 minutes. And generally people like, you know, some sort of customized stuff. For example, we found that one specific question generally like doesn't go anywhere, such as like, where are you joining the call from? Like it literally, you know, in their LinkedIn most of the times.
Yeah.
And you can
I
ask
hate that
this
question.
Yeah.
So your data says that's a bad question.
Yeah. It's
I
a
hate
bad
that question. I get on a call. Where are you calling in from? I'm like, dude, look at my LinkedIn. You know where I live. It's right
And like,
there.
you can also say based on your LinkedIn, you know, hey Brian, like, oh, are you based in Boston? And I love Celtics. Like, even though this is wrong, it is like more personalized than just like sending them something around. Oh, where are you based? It's like so, or like, how is the weather? Like, what are you gonna do with weather? Like, so there's like no reason for these stuff. People like right now, very, I think, quality focused. Seriously. Because of these meetings gallery, people are more, hey, just tell me things that I'm really interested and like I want to feel personalized. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you should be able to find them on Twitter, x.com, find them on LinkedIn. You could just go look at a recent post that they have and just be like, oh, I saw your post on, like you're a Warriors fan. Cool.
It's funny because you brought up this post and I was talking to like an ex-revenue leader. She was like, she posted on LinkedIn. She was complaining about how people are reaching out to her about her exposition, even though it's like it's been 5 months. So this is like an immediate no. I think it's like a no-brainer right now. You should never do that. And she told me, even in the calls, like she's taken some of these calls, people are like coming up her and saying, "Oh, how is your work going at in this company?" And she goes by, I mean, I'm not working there anymore. It was like 5 months ago. I'm not even your profile right now. You're just kind of sending me things. It's very generic and I don't feel appreciated. The time is the most valuable asset that we all have. Like, we got to make it count. And like the question is, how do you make it count? You got to prepare for those people. Seriously.
All right. I love that. So switching gears to talk about revenue intelligence. What is revenue intelligence and what role does it play in real-time data in this space?
So the revenue intelligence is a very, I think, overloaded term right now. I think the domain is started with all these like, you know, legacy softwares. They're great, like, you know, Gong, Chorus. They're like the first players. Like they started the domain.
Right.
But I think right now, until let's say ChatGPT, the intelligence component was missing because the intelligence that people were claimed that is intelligent was mainly a keyword tracking or certain like filtering options, doing a lot of manual stuff. So that was a game changer for them because previously you didn't have actual observations or data from what's happening. That was a step. So right now, I think intelligence is becoming something, but the problem with that is it lacks certain things, right? So AI is good, like certain AI models good up to certain point, but right now, the barrier to entry is so low. And that's why, like, I think people are confused what intelligence means. So it's not like, again, summarization or finding certain things. It is just an automation. It's not intelligence. So those are different terms, in my opinion. So there's a lot of education we have to do in this market, because that's what the legacy players did in the past. They teach people why you should record these meetings. Right now, we should teach people what is intelligence and what you can do with that. And the real time is a very interesting part of this equation. The reason is, I think, let's say all the self autonomous robots or driving cars, whatever, so it has to be a real-time component. If you want to build like an intelligent machine there, automation is like just a fundamental block, but these real-time capabilities are super important. And the biggest piece here is the behavior change. We are dealing with human to human, let's say, and this behavior change only happens in real time. There is no other option. If you're implementing, like, let's say Tesla implements this driving new software, so you don't have chance like, oh, let me process this, come back to you in 10 minutes after we had a crash. There's no meaning. Same as sales. We're right now in the meeting, we're making things happen. So either I'm gonna like set the next meeting or move forward, either I'm gonna get a neutral answer or I'm gonna get a no. So that's why the real-time component for behavior change is super, super important.
So your app is real time. It actually gives real time insights as well.
Yeah. So it is mainly real-time, live in the meeting. So we track their like what they're talking about, what they're supposed to talk about, how many minutes left. Like, hey, Brock, you're supposed to ask about legal process and and get answer to these questions. It's been like 15 minutes, you're still like talking about pain point maybe, which is good, but you already covered that. You should have accessed that. Don't keep asking the same thing.
Wow.
Right? This is the goal. This is just the contextual side, not that one. Maybe we often see, let's say, decision makers come to the meeting, which is a great sign, right?
Yeah.
You have a decision maker in the call, but then there's like another person who is generally leading. Let's say sales manager in there, and there's also VP of sales. And the sales manager is like leading the conversation, but the VP of sales, he or she never talks about, or maybe like few questions. So you still don't know whether they're listening you, right? So you're helping them. Hey, Brian, he's the VP of sales. You might want to, poke him and maybe like ask some question or maybe stop. Like, they are more in the observer mode. You want to make it as interactive for everyone.
Yeah.
So we're tracking a lot of things to make their real-time flow much more effective.
That's amazing. I didn't know it was real time. I thought it was kind of like post call insights. Here's some feedback and coaching, but it's literally almost like this AI powered sales co-pilot. It's almost like having your sales manager there whispering in your ear, like what you should be talking about, what the flow of the conversation is, what questions are still need to be addressed. And wow, that's amazing.
That is my like favorite analogy. So one of the managers, told me the same thing. It's like sometimes I'm like slacking those people. I'm joining calls and like kind of sending them direct messages. Hey, Brock, you gotta ask this question, because if you interfere, it's bad. Like, you don't want to do those type of things. But they're like, oh, right now, like, you guys implementing something, like I'm whispering all these people in my team, but at scale, because I can join only one meeting in the given time frame. But what I can do with this is I can kind of scale my behaviors and I can program it and I can coach my people better. Coaching is underserved. A lot of these tools, they designed to fire people, which is the wrong idea. They're always like, if you're a low performer, you're going to leave after this quarter. But you never give those people chance to upskill themselves. Either you're going to be super hustler. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't give these people the right environment, like, you're going to lose talent, right? And then you're going to start hiring again. There's a crazy statistics. For one SDR, right now, people are hiring 3.4 SDRs for just one SDR position, because they're like, oh, we'll get him or we'll get this person and we're going to fire. That's the wrong mindset.
It's amazing. And hiring and firing people is so costly for organizations. How do you position this when you're pitching Spiky? Like, what's the ROI that you're selling your customers on, or potential customers?
One of the things we do a deep dive is basically understanding their like pain points. That's like what it matters. Like, upskilling their people might be their pain point, or like sometimes enablement leaders and sales managers come to us and say they have playbook. They want to make sure everyone is like saying the same thing, as well as they want to understand these stuff. So it depends. It's very much on the pain point side. So we've seen like common stuff around, we got this playbook for $100,000 per year, but I don't know the adoption. So we can like measure that, and we can like pinpoint and identify what are some strengths that your team or specific person has. Let's say Burak is really good at budget discussions, but when it comes to legal, like he cannot move the needle. So you will get this insight. So they want to understand their team. What are the strengths, or like a SWOT analysis for your team? That's one pain point we're solving for them. And so they can effectively pinpoint and say, hey, you need these type of help or these type of, support. Playbook adoption, or understanding their people, understanding your team's strengths and weaknesses, as well as like reducing the ramp up time, because people become more confident. Instead of like, no one has ever told me shadowing works unless you're like super focused on, but it gives people like the exact intervals. So you find them like really good intervals and automatically. So we are reducing the time enablement people spend cutting off certain things by looking at keywords. So we get this, oh, this is a great budget discussion. Here is like the custom library. And Brock, go watch this. So we automate that, and like the ramp up time, we see a lot of ROI there, up to like 30% reduction, which is good. As well as, all these playbook and automation component, especially the asking right questions, moving the needle for the deal from one step to another one. It ended up for one of our customers, 8% more revenue for that quarter, which was a crazy number. Like they already, like make more than what they paid for us. So that was like crazy ROI for them. So our goal is like definitely key goal, increase the revenue, because best behaviors, I mean, it's a team job, right? If your team is good, basically you close more deals. So how do you make sure your team is good? So we are like making sure that ROI is perfect for them and touches to the revenue endpoint.
Do you have any data or stats that you like to bring up with prospects on, how much more effective their sales teams are, like in like maybe close rates? You mentioned that the on ramp time, reduces by 30%, but is there any stats like that you'd like to bring up?
So the revenue increases for sure. Also, there's like this automation component, the admin tasks, automated CRM updates. Like everyone hates that.
Oh, yeah.
As well as like call reviews, right? No one review these calls. So we automatically review for them based on like what works, what doesn't. So there's like, I think up to 70% decrease in these type of mundane admin tasks. So imagine like you have 100 calls, we tell you which needs attention. That's it. So certain time, after a certain period of time, leaders start trusting you, saying, oh, okay, this is actually a call that I need to review. And we basically make sure as a leader, you're reviewing the right call in the right time frame. And, the CRM fill is, I think, a very basic thing, but it saves a lot of time for people. So it's just like we cover like almost 90% of all these CRM opportunities or accounts they have. Time to closure is an interesting metric we measured with a couple of customers in the, past quarter. So they observed 20% decrease in time to closure. We're still like investigating some stuff because these type of dynamics are very complex, to be honest. What couple of things we found out was they did a perfect discovery call, and it basically accelerated every step they have to do after that discovery call. Seriously, they used to be like a little bit shallow and they made a lot of assumptions for certain deals, but right now they're resonating with the customer, I think, like 10x better. So those are like some ROIs I can just, probably
just
talk about.
the on ramp alone, that 30% reduction is huge. And then, half of a salesperson's time is just doing data entry. Reducing that by 80-90% is a huge win, and it's a big problem for sales teams, right? Like just getting the data into the CRM, so like where the deal is and what has been done. That's just a big part of the job. And, I wasn't even aware that Spiky did that automatically. I think that's amazing. What's been the biggest challenge thus far, being a founder and in this highly competitive space?
US has a different mindset. US has a very sales and marketing focused mindset, which is, I think, it has disadvantages as well as advantages for sure. But like we see, because of the barrier to entry to the space with all these, LLMs, I would say, everyone claims they are doing something useful. And that is also a challenge from a go-to-market standpoint because customers are confused. Like every leader that I'm talking to, they're like, seriously, I don't want to take any call because it is just basically BS, because everyone is like upselling a lot of like, or, upfront selling all these features or some stuff. And I think that the real value of product is underestimated. The problem with that is, hey, there's a lot going on in the sales and
Yeah.
marketing departments. Everyone is like, oh, I'm gonna post advertisement. I'm gonna like buy this. So there's a lot of fake movement going on, which is
Yeah.
confusing customers more and more. Like, I'll just be honest with, like, yeah, I think finding like having competitors is a great thing. You will,
Right.
which tells you you're doing the right thing. But the problem is, I also like kind of an announcement to all these like founders in the space, like, let's do not confuse the customers, because it's so bad for all of us. Everyone is like, oh, I can transcribe for you. Zoom does this. Teams does it. Like,
Yeah.
people are just like so done with this.
Right.
And this go to market is right now, like, I think 100 times more difficult for every.
I want to tease out this thing, the sales and marketing versus product and engineering and design, because I've been on both sides of that equation, right? And over time, the reason I got into product management back in the day, 15 years ago, was I was in sales and then marketing, and then I ran demand gen for a few startups, and I realized that I couldn't change the revenue anymore. I've done all the multivariate tests. I was, had the landing page completely optimized, the lifecycle emails, the entire funnel, and I just could not eke out any more revenue from that existing product without changing the product. Where do you come down on that kind of sales, like sales versus product? What's more important? And do you think that changes over time for startups and companies generally? Or yeah, where do you come down on that equation?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. And I think, yes, it changes over time. The interesting thing is, I think best product wins in the long term for sure. You just gotta survive, right? So as this, when you look from the startup perspective, okay, you can have the fanciest product, but you can't just ignore the go-to-market or distribution side. This is also dumb.
Hmm.
So what you have to do, I think, is like having a strong blend or like a good equation here. You can't just like say, I'm not gonna have a salesperson, whatever, or I'll just do or product-led growth. But even though you're gonna do product-led growth, you have to do certain things really,
Yeah.
really well,
Yeah.
right? There's always different parts of the equation. So some people like, I only do demo, no free signups. So everything is, I think, all right, depending on what you're trying to do. But I think you gotta decide what you really want to do. What is your customer, or what is your customer base asking to you? So those are like really, really important things to decide. And that's why I think in the midterm, when people start seeing value, that is gonna come from the product side. It's not gonna come from sales or marketing.
Right.
Like,
Sales and
it's not
marketing
gonna
to
happen.
me is like the enabler, right? They're the gasoline on the fire. And
Yeah.
but product engineering and design, they're getting the fire started. They're thinking about the parameters of the fire and like how big it's going to be, and like what's the purpose of the fire?
Yeah.
Who's it for? What problem does it solve? And how do we deliver that value? And then sales and marketing is just accelerating all that. I think, yeah, I would agree with you. It starts with product, right? It has to be.
And I think it helps you build loyal customer fan base. So, because it doesn't need to scale super fast. Like, everyone is talking about, oh, your SaaS product, it doesn't jump, you know, whatever multiplier they have right now, because you can get all those people like with advertisement that you can do, they can sign up. So, but the problem with that is, I think in the early stages, like, it is so fake and artificial, and they're
Mm,
not giving you the right feedback. Those people who come slowly but they're kind of loyal, I think it's a very important barrier to hit. So when you have those like loyal base, helps you, like, they're not going to churn you like if you do one thing bad. Like, they are not here for the pricing, they are here for the value. So you have to find those people, and the value comes from product. Your sales, marketing, whatever customer facing department you have can tell every story, and they can even close the deal. That's my problem. They can close the deal, and they're going to churn if you don't have the engine right. So
right.
that's very crucial, I would say.
Sales can sell anything, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of enterprise, I think what you're teasing out here is a lot of enterprise sales is when it's done well, is they kind of sell into the future a bit. They sell the
Oh yeah.
roadmap, and they're kind of saying, okay, they're understanding the problem, what the customer really needs, and really good enterprise sales teams can communicate that back to the product and engineering teams to influence the roadmap and basically land big 6, 7, 8 figure deals with basically saying, hey, we need to go build this. And so eventually what happens in enterprise software that I've noticed, because I've been at early, mid, and late stage companies both in product and sales, including Microsoft and some really big tech companies, but also like startups like Series A and B and C startups, is over time enterprise sales, the team itself grows in importance, and eventually they start, having the most influence on the roadmap, basically having to influence sales, and so to get the right things done for the customer, right? And so
Right.
it becomes this dance and negotiation over time.
It is a very good point. The reason is one of the value propositions we bring, like large scale, I would say like even mid-market customers, is fixing that communication gap, because we observed this like 100 times. So revenue teams is not just sales.
Right.
Like I think it has, not I think, but I think it's a fact right now. It has sales for sure.
Right.
It has customer support. It has customer success. And those are different things. People are always like keep mixing them. Shoot out to my customer success and support people out there. But then we have like product, and we even have marketing. So these five, departments, they control the revenue. So everyone thinks sales, more budget. But the funny thing that we figure out, like with Spiky, like people get like these leaders getting like holistic insights. So what happens most of the time is sales is just, oh yeah, we have this feature, this quarter is coming, just sign the contract, I'll get you 25% off. Like if you sign this week, they sign the customer. Then they're like, it's post sales, I don't care. So then, customer is onboarded, and then what happens is, hey, I'm supposed to have this feature, but I can't find anywhere. What do I do? So the support, the front people, they're like, we don't have that. Let me check with my team. Then they do some sort of ticket system going on. Then they find the product manager responsible for that. Product manager says, this is not in this quarter. And support is, oh, what am I going to do? Let me ping the customer success manager. Then you're receiving a random email from your success manager saying, hey, Burak, sorry, but we'll give you 25% off for your deal. My apologies. It's not in this quarter's roadmap. Something bad happened while our communication. And this is like the result of siloed communication. And you record everything, right? But you're not solving this problem because your product manager never gonna listen to that sales call. They don't even have access most of the times. So how do I basically, let's say, one customer communication, let's say throughout the sales process, different insights for different teams. That's what we do for them as well. Hey, this is like your product roadmap. These are what they really, really want. Instead of they manually think, we basically note all the critical aspects of this deal for different teams. So this communication silo thingy, it's a big problem.
So looking out, 5 or 10 years from now for both Spiky and AI and sales generally, what are you excited about? What do you see? What's your kind of vision for the future?
So there's a lot of things happening right now. I'm a huge follower around knowledge graphs. So it's a very interesting concept. It's not heavily utilized right now. There are like certain fields that are utilized. That's why I think knowledge graphs going to make a lot of change because it fundamentally changes how we access data. It's like more complex than all these, I would say, retrieval augmented generation stuff. So the knowledge graphs are one thing that I'm like super interested because it's going to contribute a lot to the intelligence part that I was like talking.
And so looking out 5 or 10 years from now for Spiky, what's your vision for Spiky?
I think from our end, what we really want to do here is becoming like a platform around the intelligence, or I would say insight. Like we could even use your Gong recordings or something else. It doesn't matter too much to us where the data, because those are just data points. Our basically bread and butter is you have data, let us tell you what is wrong, and then what is wrong or what is right, then we will help you execute that. So that's the personalization as well as like insight engine like that we're trying to become as a platform.
And looking back for anybody out there who's listening, that's starting a B2B software company, is there anything that you've learned over the past few years that you wish you knew when you started your journey?
There's a concept like, go talk to your customers, right? Everyone keeps telling the same thing. But what I realized when I was also like mentoring a couple of startups and even like ourselves in the past, we don't know how to talk to customers. That's the fundamental problem there. There's a book called Mom Test. Have you ever read it or have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've read Mom Test. Yeah.
Yes. So Mom Test is, I think, the beginning of this equation. The reason is like when you go to your mom, say, hey, mom, like I am so excited about this. This is going to be a cool product, whatever. Your mom is, oh, yeah, I love it. It's great. So if you tell what people, what you're building to people, you're never like kind of getting the real deal. So you have to be a good discovery person, I would say. So that's basically the fundamental value of customer interviews. And that's why that skill is super critical. Right now, you're recording everything, but still you need those like fundamental discovery questions answered. And it only happens in customer interviews. So one key takeaway, learn how to do customer interviews and be like fantastic on that. No exceptions.
I love that. Well, let's wrap up with a rapid fire.
Sure.
What's one tech innovation that you're most excited about right now?
Tech innovation, I would say where the knowledge graphs are coming, but my one thing I'm super excited is the self-driving cars, like really fully autonomous driving concept. I'm in love with that.
Yeah, that's amazing. What is your go-to icebreaker on a sales call?
Their favorite music. The reason is when they're booking a time with me, there's a question in my calendar application. It asks like, tell me your favorite. I'm a musician. I play drums. So I always like listen what they put before the sales call. I analyze the song and, make a couple of comments. So that's how I basically break the ice.
Who are your top 3 drummers of all time?
Red Hot Chili Peppers, Chad Smith. Like that's one of
Yeah.
my, favorites. And then I really like, I'm a funk person. So then there's this like Clyde Stubblefield. So it's like very, very, all like I think 60s, 70s. So I love him. David Garibaldi. So those are like two other drummers that I'm like closely following up. It's more like funk, jazz essentials. So
okay.
Yeah,
for me, it's Ringo Starr for sure because I'm a big Beatles fan. And then
cool.
Phil Collins is also a really, really good drummer.
It's so hard. I'm telling you.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
It's very simple. Just work hard and be honest.
What's your favorite productivity tool?
Except Spiky or including Spiky.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what you guys are, is a productivity tool for sales teams. Yeah, that's interesting.
Absolutely. But I think my favorite productivity thingy is like right now, it's very new, but there's Slack templates. They just launched that. And like, we're doing a lot of cool stuff with that. I'm loving. Yeah.
I didn't tell you this, but I've actually seen Spiky a couple times on Zoom. One was Ian Bergman from Alchemist. He had it. Yeah. He was going to make an intro to you. And I was like, yeah, he's already a portfolio company. He's like, oh, of course he is.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny. And then I had another guy, I forget who it was. And I was like, oh, Spiky, how do you know Spiky? And it was just sitting there on Zoom. So you are out there for sure. Interesting question, that I, thinking back, I mean, you went really deep in AI and then you came up, and became an entrepreneur. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently? But, you kind of went through this journey of getting a PhD. What did that teach you? And like anything you would have done differently?
I think I would definitely do PhD again. The reason is the resilience component I was mentioning in the beginning. So that there's a reason that like the companies hire PhDs, and it's not like because of your current knowledge.
Yeah,
it
just shows resilience.
It's resilience, and you know how to learn. That's a crazy skill. So like put me in I've never done sales during my PhD, but PhD is actually like when you're writing a paper, it's a sales process.
Right.
You're trying to sell your idea,
right.
Like your whole contribution to the domain that you don't even know. That's why people have like these double-blinded reviews. So you don't know the reviewers, but I'm trying to sell my idea to people even I don't know. So that resilience component, and as well as like knowing or understanding how to learn, it's I think an invaluable skill as an entrepreneur.
I love that. And so much of getting a PhD I only have a master's degree, so I don't know. But like so much of getting a PhD is synthesizing knowledge, researching novel things and discovering new things, new knowledge, right? And kind of the same thing if you're an entrepreneur, right? And a founder, you're kind of looking at a space and you're saying like, what is the problem here to be solved? And let me research this. And then let me go sell something that, like to your point, that solves this. Yeah, getting a PhD is, what do you think is harder, being a founder or getting a PhD?
Like both of them has ups and downs, but being a founder is I think more realistic experience because you have a lot of responsibilities, not just product sales, whatever. So your team and your employees, like your whole mindset is completely different. So it's like a mental game. PhD is one of those. Seriously, it's hard. But maybe sometimes the results are not super realistic, right? Oh, if I can put this research update, all right. So maybe like next week it's going to be better. But sometimes in business, you have deadlines because people pay you directly.
Right.
So that's basically changed the equation. When people pay for something, expectations change significantly.
Yeah.
You'll see the behavior.
Yeah, I
My
love
father
that.
always say, like, talk to a person before they pay you and after they pay you. So there's like always different.
Yeah. Besides the mom test, is there a book that's had a big impact on you?
So there's like this random book of there's like rapper called Russ. It's like Russ. So he had a book. Like I somehow find it. I don't know, maybe it's here. Yeah. So the book is called like It Is All in Your Head. So it's not a fancy book. Like you're not gonna get a lot, but the even very basic thing about this book is it's literally all in your head. Whatever you do, I think in this life, it's all about like your perspective. And this rapper, his songs are I think great. So that's how I bought his book like 4 years ago, and I just love it. Like it's so
Wow.
random. Probably is not super famous, but he wrote about it and he basically talked about like how he got into this career and like it was crazy. I love it.
I
So
love
it's
that. Yeah. It's
very
all in your
unpopular
head.
opinion. Yeah.
I'm going to read that. What's the best way to handle not interested, that objection in sales?
There's a loaded question. The reason is like, is it coming in an email when I'm doing a call to outreach or like when they say in the meeting? So can I ask clarification on that or no?
Let's do both.
So, I mean, I don't do cold outreach, to be honest. Like we don't. So we generally don't hear like not interested option. We generally like it might happen in the call. And the reason I think I'm going to give a trick answer again. We are not dealing with this objection a lot. The reason is we're trying to disqualify them. I'm not trying to qualify the prospect. I'm actually trying to say them, hey, you're not a good fit. That's my goal. It changes the equation a lot. Because one of our like sales mentors, he taught us like, you got to disqualify these people. And qualification is very much, you want to make things work. But if you can't disqualify these people, that's the goal. And that's why
The
we
goal
don't
is
feel
to
like,
disqualify.
yeah. And
tell me more about the we don't do cold outreach. What is that?
yes. So I think right now, all this like, all the market in the go-to-market space, everyone is like sending emails. Probably you're receiving a lot of emails. I'm even receiving like 50 emails every day, LinkedIn connections, something.
So many.
So I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but it's saturated up to a point. So either you need like have a great branding, like a mid-market. Oh, I'm reaching out from you. People have some sort of brand recognition. So I think in the earlier stages, it is good, but I don't think it's getting you this loyal base. That's why like we're not super interested in the, what is it called? The outreach component. So we are very much focused on people who can bring like inbound and more qualified and very interested people. So that's basically our loyal customer base.
I love that. 2 more questions and we'll wrap up. If you weren't building Spiky, what would you be doing?
I think I would still be in some sort of coaching and education space because my main passion was helping people to achieve their best potential. And I really, wanted to help those people. So it's probably going to be empowering people, but because there's a lot of great talent in the world and it can't be localized. It can be everywhere in the world. How do we make this whole global workforce, right? Right now, remote working up to some point, but a lot of big companies are like, hey, you got to come to office. It's not working. So I really want to like find ways to make this remote equation help people achieving their best potential. So it's probably going to be something in the parallel space.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what you're basically doing with Spiky already. So you're aligned, your passion is aligned with like what you're building.
I might be a drummer, so it's not gonna.
Well, you'll always be a drummer.
It's gonna be fun. Oh yeah, I'm like still performing with my band.
So, and last question, what's next for Spiky in the coming year?
So we have big platform updates. We'll be like providing a lot of value to our existing customers because these interviews like providing really good gold nuggets to us. So you'll see Spiky becoming more and more on the platform side and an integration side. We're going to like reduce your integration burden or something into the level of minuses, not even zero. So we want to basically help you we want to play in the platform space and help you build out quicker, faster, and more value. So that's why we're going to touch upon a lot of different aspects, not just sales specific focus. You'll see a lot of different teams coming into play with Spiky in the next year.
Awesome. And where can folks that have listened this far in the episode find you online?
They can basically reach me out through my X or Twitter. I'll put the handle, but also like LinkedIn is, I think, the best way. So if you think you're good at cold outreach, I respond most of the interesting ones.
Me too.
And if there's a value, and it's my name at spiky.ai. So I'm happy to always chat and learn about new things. So that's why we are all here.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Ryan, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Likewise.